So I want you guys to imagine for a moment that you're at your local game store and you're looking to buy a new board game. One that you've read online is relatively fun, decently priced. You're supporting your local game store. You go in, you buy it, you start opening it up, start reading the rules, and partway through reading the rules, you're getting awfully confused about some of these rules. And it's getting harder and harder to understand as to what the goal of the game is. And you've realized now, partway through during the initial setup of the game, you've probably just wasted around $80 to $90 on a board game. Does that frustrate you?
No,
It doesn't frustrate you that the game that you wasted money on a board game.
it does not frustrate me. It throws me into murderous rage.
See, and
Yeah.
that is going to be the topic of today's Turn Zero Loss, where we are the Magic Engineers. Today we're going to be talking about some board games that we absolutely dislike. Sherry's going to be kind of sitting back, being more of like asking the important questions and kind of guiding us through the conversations, because from his perspective, he's a little less seasoned in the board game industry as David and myself are. So I'm going to kick us off with talking about one of the worst board games that David, Sherry, and I have all played.
What game would that be?
So the game is Zombicide. Specifically, the version that we were talking about is going to be Zombicide Black Plague. To give you a quick little tidbit of what Zombicide is, if you haven't played it, don't. But here's what it is. At least what it's supposed to be. Zombicide is a co-op dungeon crawler board game that involves each of the players taking control of various characters in order to fight off various undead hordes that are going to be threatening the few remaining sects of humanity that exist in the world of this game. You control one or two characters at any given time, and you have some limited inventory space you have to manage throughout the entire play period. And then the game is kind of split up into three different phases. There's a player phase, a zombie phase, and a zombie spawn phase. Basically, the way I break it down is you have your actions, your consequences, and then your consequences to your consequences. It sounds like it would be an interesting game because you're killing zombies, and it should be fun, but it's not. There's a couple reasons.
Was this
why.
the game that just it felt like we were either way ahead or way behind at any given time?
Yes.
It's so swingy.
But the reason why it felt that way is because we were playing the game wrong.
Wait, what?
Yes, there were rules that
we play the game wrong. We don't ever do that. We always read the rules and understand the rules, and we never forget about a certain board piece that would
all
really
level
matter.
6 Magic judges, and how could we all possibly get rules wrong?
Yes.
Oh, you'll find out.
Why the rules are complicated in this game. They're quite convoluted, actually. There are various rules throughout the game that make it harder for the players to get ahead, that we were just straight up ignoring. And in our process of ignoring these rules, we were able to make the game a little easier for ourselves. So one of the rules that we were always constantly ignoring until like halfway through one of the play sessions we were playing is friendly fire. As a little side note, if you played the original Zombicide game where it's like more of a modern setting, the friendly fire rules were way more brutal. If you fired into a space that had a survivor at all, the first target priority that you hit is a survivor.
Excuse me?
Yes. You couldn't prioritize hitting the zombies before you hit the survivors, even if you have misses. You were always going to hit your survivor friends.
So,
in my humble opinion, that's so stupid. If there's a group of zombies, you're going to be shooting at the zombies, not your friends.
So let me get. So, let's say I had like 4 hits. So yeah. I'm like shooting my bullet, bang, 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 bang. I miss 3 of them, and I make 1 of them. My first shot automatically hits
your friend.
My friend.
Yes.
Oh,
and that is in the original Zombicide rules, the OG Zombicide. In Black Plague, they changed the friendly fire rules to where any of your misses would hit your friend. So your 3 misses instead would hit your friend.
I'm gonna be completely honest here. I don't think they know how it works. Like
they don't.
Really? So
But the even more ridiculous part is they have that rule, but you could target a space that's 2 spaces away, and you don't need to shoot through the horde of zombies to shoot the zombies that are 2 spaces away. So you can avoid hitting your friends if you shoot 2 spaces away, but if you shoot right next to them, you could still hit. The rules don't make sense in that sense. There's just
So you're saying I can shoot upwards at an angle and hit it blindly, and I'm
Yes.
less likely to hit my friend.
Yes. But in Black Plague, it's magic spells. So like fireballs, balls of fire that you can arc. So that makes a little more sense. And same with arrows, but that's beside the point. Regardless, the friendly fire mechanic is dumb and unforgiving. And I've seen online, there's tons of people that just house rule this and make it a little more forgiving.
Yeah, and bear in mind, we're also not going to factor house rules into our equations here. These are the games as they are designed to be played.
Correct. If you play the rules as written, this game's awful. On to the next little rule tidbit that gets really, really finicky. I guess not really a rule, it's just more a mechanic. You're too reliant on dice rolls in this game. You could be doing everything the right way. You could have all the equipment you need to put things in your favor. However, at the end of the day, you have to have luck on your side to be able to do any good. Because it could come down to, I need to hit 3 zombies, but I have to hit them in this specific order because there's this big guy here that's going to eat up all the damage first before I can actually deal any damage to the little guys.
That's dumb.
Yes.
So,
and bear in mind also, like, the actual roll to hit most of the time is very slanted against you.
Yeah. Like at most time, the minimum that you have to hit is like a 4, 5, or 6. So it's half the dice. But for some reason, whenever we play with the game's dice, it feels like those dice are just rigged. I don't know why. Like they always miss when you need them most.
oh, that was the game that we switched the dice out because we just couldn't like factor like why we were losing so much.
Yeah.
We started doing the math and I'm like, this is there's something here. We're beyond the mean.
Yeah, a statistic anomaly.
Good,
next up,
good thing we had our magic dice on us. Totally not rigged.
Absolutely, definitely not
Very
rigged.
fair dice.
The next thing that really makes me upset about this game is the zombie spawning mechanics. Zombies spawn every round, as I said before, and there are cards inside the zombie spawn deck that cause a double spawn to occur. If you draw a double spawn card while trying to resolve a double spawn card, you have to do another double spawn. Not resulting in 4 times the spawns, but you have 3 more spawns you have to do after that. And it kind of gets really complicated when you add in the fact that there's a necromancer that can join in the fray, adding more spawn zones. And then the spawn cards can actually have things like these creatures get extra activations. Or if you run out of figurines of a certain zombie type, instead you have to decide arbitrarily, the zombies of this type, a certain number, get an extra activation. On top of that, there's another rule that we got wrong. Every time you take an action, there's a chance that the action causes noise. And if there's enough noise in an area, all the zombies are going to go there. However, if there are 2 zones that have equal number of noise tokens, the zombies instead split up.
Oh, we got that.
And they don't tell you that in the rules, except for one little blip. It's 1 line of text. It's not explicitly stated anywhere, but that one little line of text, and your eyes can skip over it because it's in the middle of a paragraph explaining how noise works. The way the
don't
rules
they know
are written,
the rule of you only read the first 2 sentences and ignore the rest until
the way the rules are written are it's just you're reading paragraph after paragraph, so it's easy to lose your eyes when tracking where you're at in the rules, and at some points you're just trying to find the rule so fast that you can't stop to like flip through the entire book trying to find this.
Yeah, I'm looking up the rulebook right now. It is a 56-page rulebook.
Yeah, it's a thick rulebook, and to have to flip through it all the time, it's very frustrating. And most of the time,
preposterous for a basic dungeon crawl game like this.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the dungeon crawl usually boils down to 2 scenarios. Either you're going to be sitting in room A while everyone else runs around, kiting all the zombies and try not to get killed, trying to loot for a specific set of items for you to be able to have the win condition and get out of the game. Or there's option B, where you're going to be having to kill a certain number of things or kill a certain zombie, and your items that you start with aren't good enough to kill that certain zombie, so you need to find the items to kill that certain zombie. And the power scaling can be very complicated, where you could all be the lowest level, because there's a leveling system in this game. You could all be the lowest level, draw a spawn card, and it'll spawn the hardest zombie to kill in the game in turn 1. And if you do that, you're stuck with that guy until you can find what can kill it, because there's no other way to get rid of it.
It's a boo, not cool. Into perspective, I looked up. So next time we all get together, we are going to try out Twilight Game, and so those games typically last all day, and their rulebook is only 20. To put this into perspective, and most of
and it reads, and it makes sense, unlike most of Fantasy Flight rulebooks, which don't.
Yes.
Yeah, and at least 5 of those pages are not even like needed. Like one of them has like one of them's a reference, and some of it's just like, oh, this is what it looks like if you have 4 players set up or 3 players or
there's
6
also a lore page in that one as well.
Yeah.
To be fair, the majority of the rulebook of Zombicide is the quests and scenarios.
I still count, well, like, because like I'm looking at it right now, and I see like it only goes to like page 38 to like page 49.
Never mind.
Yeah, no, it's still like 40 plus pages of rules.
Yeah. If you need that many rules to explain your game, you might have missed out on some card space on the cards you have. Speaking of the cards you have, there's so many components of this game it's hard to keep track of, and I understand that Twilight Imperium has a lot of components too, but there's a lot of figurines, and if you lose one, you could end up screwing yourself over.
Yeah, this game is very fiddly, which I don't mind normally. I'm actually kind of into it, but it gets a little much because of all the minis that you have to track. Yeah, I hate this game. I absolutely despise Zombicide with passion.
Like we played it a few times and we liked it at first, but then we started reading the rules and understanding the rules better, and then things got worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, it feels like the game is just gives you no room to breathe and no wiggle room to play around and figure things out. And I get it's supposed to be unrelenting, but it's also a little preposterous that you're so fragile when you do that, and the design doesn't work, and there's just like the complications involved with like things like dual wielding and utilizing Dragonfire and all the various scenarios, and the amount of randomization in this game is enormous. It's so random, so it feels like even if you play perfectly, you still can get screwed because you don't have the weapons you need or you didn't get the dice you needed. And I don't mind dice rolling. You know, I'm into a little bit of randomness. I think that's fine. But this game feels very extreme with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the only redeeming quality, and this is with any board game really, it's about the people you play with. Because if the people you play with are going to be fun and have a good time with it, you're still going to have a good time. But if you're all in a bad mood, it's going to get very, very, very high tension very soon. And it's going to make the playtime feel a lot longer.
Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, I think that we had the most fun when we played together and we were playing it wrong, and then we just decided to finish the game as we were playing it.
All right. I'll go next. I've got some words to say about this next game on my list.
So what game would that be?
So Mr. this game often gets thrown at a lot of people for as kind of a intro to the hobby of board gaming, and I think that's wrong, and I think it's bad, and I think it's stupid and dumb and irritating. And that game is Munchkin. Any and all forms of Munchkin I despise with a passion. So let me explain what Munchkin is. So for those that aren't aware, Munchkin is a card game, essentially, where players play as folks in a dungeon, and your goal is to make it to level 10 through various means, which includes killing monsters, playing cards that gain levels, but also deliberately sabotaging your opponents by making them lose levels, buffing the enemy monsters so that they get bigger, weakening the enemy player so that they lose the fight and get slaughtered. And on its face, it sounds like a fun, if kind of cutthroat time. It's not fun, it's just cutthroat. The reason why I don't like this game is because it is ungodly mean-spirited in every way that it could be. The cards themselves are things like they're things like, hey, +3 to this guy's strength. So functionally, they're not very interesting. The rules are shockingly convoluted for a game that is supposed to be a very simple gotcha style game. And
also, here's just a note. I'm looking up the rules. Why are there rules for each kind of munchkin? And
that's because the game has a ton of different versions and expansions.
Each expansion has its own set.
Yeah, and it's insanely, and it makes the publishing company, Steve Jackson Games, a lot of money. And I begrudge them heavily for that. Because, again, I don't think the game is good enough on its own to make sense of it. There's no real game. There's no real sense of strategy here because you're literally just playing cards on your opponents. And these games take forever. They run so long. Because when everyone makes it to level 9, which is like the threshold before somebody wins, everyone unloads their shit, and the person who has the most shit left after they unload wins. So there's no strategy because everyone ends up catching up anyways. So every game plays the same, regardless of what cards you pull. It's ludicrous and annoying. And it's also like, I don't like the artwork. The humor, the game is kind of satirical, but the humor isn't very funny. And really, it only scans for people who are A, terminally online, or B, only know things about D&D. So it doesn't scan with me either there. It's a game that really, I think, is kind of everything wrong with the hobby. And I also, again, I hate that it's so popular. I hate that it seems like everyone has a copy and no one plays it. No one I know plays it, at least. I have a copy, but I'll never play it again because I despise playing it because it's miserable.
Yeah, my sister's boyfriend said he was going to buy this game for me, and I cringed inside.
Get him to buy you a good game. Like
I didn't say anything because like he was going to do it for Christmas. I don't think he ever did, but like he was going to do it for Christmas. I'm like, I'm kind of glad he didn't buy that for me. He got me that Birdspan game instead, though.
Oh, that's way better. Yeah, Wingspan was a way better game than this. Yeah. Like, I don't like Heroes, but I'd play Wingspan 10 times over this every day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just a miserable. It's probably like outside of most mass market games, it's probably the game that I had the most negative feelings towards.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
mass market. It's really awful.
All bad. Yeah, this is. I've seen people play this game. I never played it personally myself, but every time I was watching people play it, I was like, this doesn't seem fun. Why would you want to do this?
Yeah, it's not fun. And that's what gets me about it, is that like people, like, you know, back in college when, you know, I was just hanging out with people, that we would play this game, and every time we played it, it felt the exact same.
Yes.
It all ended the same way. And it drove me nuts. Like, I was thinking to myself, can we please play a different party game? Like, can we play Resistance? Can we play One Night Werewolf? Can we play Two Rooms and a Boom? Those actually have strategy. Those actually have gameplay. Those actually can be different.
Yes.
This game all just plays the same constantly, and it's infuriating, and no one's left feeling good about it. No. That's the worst part for me, is that no one looks like they had fun after they were done.
I wouldn't. Like, it's just, I don't get it. How is this game so popular still?
I'm looking at the rules. The fact that they have to say, and also contradict themselves in the basic rules of the game. They have a conflicts between cards and rules. And so apparently, I think a lot of people play this, based on what I'm hearing, is a lot of people play this wrong. You have to actually kill a monster to get to level 10.
Yes. There's a card that says that you don't.
Yeah, and then like literally right after starting and finishing the game, it says the opposite. unless a card specifically tells you to win another way. And it says,
yeah, that's kind of this game in a nutshell. Maybe I'll bring it with you guys so you guys can experience the pain when we meet up next.
No,
But
we have to sit through Twilight Imperium. Like, we have to figure that out.
Get through Twilight Imperium. Oh, that means you're gonna appreciate Twilight Imperium once Munchkin's done.
Oh man.
So just
might end up killing.
What an awful game. Probably my most hated game outside of Mass Market.
So I'd like to call out one more game, because I feel like I don't want to go too negative on board games, because there's a lot of board games I love. Like, I will not hate on too many, and there's redeeming qualities to a lot of these games, and there's a redeeming quality to this game too. Don't get me wrong. However, Dominion is a deck building game, and in this deck building game, you're not really interacting with other players too often. There is very little you can do to interact with another player. There's a couple cards that allow you to quote unquote attack another player, but it just means they discard a card. And that's fine. But like, a lot of it is just solitaire. Because the strategy usually boils down to buy markets, buy whatever the hell it is that lets you take extra turns, basically. And you just play those, get all the buying power, buy the victory points. And the strategy boils down to that every single time, because every time I've played it, we've always played it with the rules that there's no witches, there's none of that stuff. So my experiences personally with Dominion have been fairly negative, because it's always been play by yourself until eventually you either win or you lose.
I feel like Dominion's one of those games where you need to have as many expansions as possible to really open it up and make the system shine. Because I like Dominion. But I agree, the base set is a little basic and weak.
Yeah. I'd like to get that and the expansions just to try it again, because I did have fun at some points, but if I can make it to where the game is at least somewhat different every time I play it, I'd appreciate that. So like, I'm willing to move my opinion on Dominion if it's a good enough game with the expansions, but getting that and the expansions is just gonna be a lot of money.
There are a lot of expansions, so I wouldn't blame you if you decide not to do that, because that is a lot of money.
Yeah, I'd rather get like Gloomhaven or Frosthaven, one of those games.
Oh my gosh,
Frosthaven, that is.
Boy,
these. Okay, I did have one more game I wanted to call out. Not necessarily because it's bad per se, but because it is possibly the most fiddly board game I've ever played. And this is old. This is an old game, like mid 2000s level.
Is it Monopoly?
It is not Monopoly. No. Good try. You tried. It is the World of Warcraft board game.
Interesting.
It is this game. Sorry.
Excuse me. Did you say World of Warcraft board game?
There was a World of Warcraft board game way back in like the mid to late 2000s. It's well out of print now. Good luck trying to find it for a price that isn't going to break your neck. And the game itself, quite cool, actually. It's actually quite a stunningly, a well-represented game of World of Warcraft. But with that said, it is also the fiddliest, most moving parts board game I have ever played in my life.
My God, it's a Fantasy Flight game.
Yeah, it's a Fantasy Flight game, so it's fiddly by default, but like this takes it up to a whole other level. So let me read off all of the components that this game possesses, okay?
Oh my God.
So it possesses a rules booklet, a game board, 120 plastic figures, 16...
Good Lord.
Yeah, those are all creatures, by the way. 16 plastic character figures, 7 character sheets, actually 9 character sheets, sorry, my mistake, 3 character counters, 15 stun tokens, 15 curse tokens, 6 cardboard bag tokens, 6 cardboard spellbook tokens, 1 turn marker, 216 class cards, 20 item cards, 120 alliance quest cards, 40 horde cards, 47 event cards. I meant to say 40 alliance cards, by the way. 5 Kel'Thuzad event cards, 3 Overlord sheets, 8 energy tokens, 58 health tokens, 138 gold tokens, 40 hit tokens, 20 armor tokens, 21 d8s, 2 creature
breathe.
Nope. 2 creature reference sheets, 5 Lord Kazakh Overlord encounters, 1 Kel'Thuzad Overlord counter, 1 Nefarian Overlord counter, and 5 Point of Interest tokens.
Breathe.
What the
Did you know
hell?
that? So I counted there very briefly. I counted over 700 different components. All of that.
David,
The box is
more.
Massive.
There's more. There's 6 Alliance quest tokens, 6 Horde quest tokens, 8 War tokens, and 12 action tokens as well.
Oh my fucking god!
It was a two column component.
2
list.
columns. Yeah. So the game by default is fiddly as hell. But if you can by some miracle find it in a garage sale somewhere, I encourage you to pick it up because the game is actually quite good.
Oh my god!
But there's
so much...
check for all the pieces because there's a lot of pieces.
There's so much setup.
It's a lot of fiddliness, it's a lot of setup, and it's a rules heavy game.
It's a
40-page
rule book.
Yes, 40-page rule book. But trust me, the depth that this game offers and the sheer merry trashiness of it all makes it great.
There's PvP.
Yes, there's also PvP.
Oh no.
Don't if you find this game cheap, go out of your way to buy it. Do not do it for the insane prices you see it on eBay. It's not worth it.
God, yeah. Wow.
But it's pretty great if you can get it.
Have you played it?
Yes, I have.
Oh my god.
And it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. But it was also probably 10 years ago when I played it, so
man. Yeah,
so,
I mean, board games, man.
Board game. Yeah.
So this is kind of like this would be kind of a...
I mean, I know Eli's answer.
I mean, to be fair, I'd have to say the frustrating mechanics, it's got to be having to roll a specific number on a die. Like, for example, in a lot of Fantasy Flight games where it's 5s and 6s are successes. So that is my most frustrating.
That's just classic Ameritrash.
Yeah.
My most irritating and most hated mechanic are probably well, that's tough actually. I'd have to think about that because there's a lot of mechanics that really annoy me.
You know what another one is? You draw a card and you lose the game.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
That's the mechanic. Because I can understand if it's like cumulative over time, you've lost resources, you draw a card, you lose the game. Fine. But if you draw a single card, it could be the beginning or the end of the game. You draw that card and you lose the game right away. That's a bad mechanic.
Yeah. I'd say my most hated mechanic is more than likely going to be, it's definitely card based. I'd say it's probably negative cards that you end up drawing into that take effect immediately.
Yeah.
That grinds my gears to a whole other level, as Eli witnessed when we played Catan Starships. That shit that nettles me beyond all belief.
It's so true. Yeah, those are like... That pretty sums it up pretty well for me in terms of frustrating mechanics. Sherry, do you have anything that has frustrated you when we play games? Because obviously I know you haven't played as many, but there's got to be something.
Granted, this could be just the kind of board games you play. Like, I enjoy challenging games.
That's so.
So no comeback mechanics. Is that what you're kind of thinking right now, or
it feels like if you get behind early, it's like, I'm not saying like it should be easy to come back, but sometimes like the compounding advantage that other players might get. Like, let's say, like I'm just gonna make up a game. So imagine there's a game where I draw a card and I have to and then I get like this thing that activates immediately, and now I can't draw a card. Everyone else on the board is still drawing cards while I'm just sitting here discarding my hand, and when it's finally removed somehow, whether it's a turn-based thing or whatever, there's no way for me to come back.
I see.
Like, okay. I know that's like a really absurd example, but like, do you understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I kind of get the idea.
I see it. I think part
especially
of
in
that,
early game. Like late game, I understand it happens, but like I'll use like Eldritch Horror for example. I did much better with the second character than I did with
yeah,
like I didn't even play the first night that we played that game.
Yeah.
that was a rough game for you.
Yeah.
I'd say that has more to do with the games that we play than it is to the actual like mechanics of board games. Because a lot of the games we play, especially those Fantasy Flight games that are in the Arkham universe, the odds are supposed to be stacked against you in those games because you're facing an otherworldly being that is, supposed to be all powerful, and you're just a human. So
Yeah, I just
you're
wish there was
supposed
another
to
way out
lose-
besides me just rolling one die a
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah, like you're supposed
Like-
to lose those kind of games quite often, but it shouldn't be as hard as sometimes it is. I get
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, like I wish I could wish there was an ability in like that game for example, like instead of like rolling my one die or two dice or even three dice, whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
I wish there was a way. Okay, I'll take 4 health, like a substantial health loss,
Mm-hmm.
or
To climb my
insanity
way out.
loss to climb my way out, because that's how I would most likely become unhaunted.
Yep. David, you should bring Manchester Madness next time we all hang out together.
I think I'll do that. I'm also probably gonna end up. There's a new game I've been kind of eyeing for a little bit. Well, maybe it's not new, but it's new to you.
Okay.
There's an RE Resident Evil 2 dungeon crawl out there,
Ooh, okay.
so I might bring that as well. Yeah.
Well, on that note, we're going to wrap up today's episode. Hope you enjoyed some of our nonsensical ranting about board games. If you did, give this video a like. Comment down below some board games that frustrated you in the past, and maybe if you agree with us, comment as to some scenarios that you've been very frustrated in these same board games that we talked about today. And subscribe. Follow us on X.
I thought my ranting was totally logical.
It's mostly logical, yeah. Anyway, hope you all have a good day, and we'll see you next video.
Board games are dead.
Long live the board games.